Aloha, Internet, and welcome to another episode of the Paper Cuts Podcast. I am one of your hosts, the disembodied voice of Brandon Castro. And joining me on this beautifully snowy evening, we have the God of Thunder, Marcus Aurelius Mercurius. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing awesome.
Oh, beautiful.
I like being the God of Thunder.
Oh, yeah. It's all that hair. Dyed blonde.
I should.
Yeah. On your right, world's most dangerous man, Dan Jackman. Dan, how is it?
I'm doing great, Brando.
Ah.
I'm super stoked to be here right now, talking to you and all of my friends about comic books.
Alright, keeping it solid. Alright, moving down the line, we have the infinitely passionate Matthew Chang. How you doing, man? How you doing, Chang?
I'm always, I guess
Passionate.
Sunny.
Oh my god.
I'd go with Sunny.
Sunny. In Philly?
Oh!
Oh!
Never watched that show either.
Nice, bro.
You're missing out. Good job.
I know, man.
Actually, yes.
Watch Arrow, too, man.
Although apparently, Chang.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later. Cut it off. And last but not least, our glorious leader, Sir James Manderson. James.
Hey, what's going on, man? It's Sonny as well.
Sonny?
I didn't realize that I was your leader.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And we've all made the blood oath, right?
Yep.
Pledge the blood.
Wait, what?
Oh.
We were supposed to use all blood? I used yours again.
Oh, God. Okay. Well, what goes around? But yeah. Today we're talking about comic book movies. Yeah! Woo! Comic book movies. Alright. I'm so alone.
Kind of a continuation on the TV one.
Yes, it is. Yeah, yes. Today we're going to be building off our previous go-around where we talked about, it was a discussion about comic book adaptations specifically pertaining to live-action television only. But this week we'll be adhering only to the medium of film. It's such a large topic, comic books adapting to all the medias, video games, cartoons, blah, blah, blah. We figured we'll just move it again and again if we need to. But yeah. Where are we moving on with that? Check. Oh yeah, if you guys want any kind of pretense, go back and check out that previous podcast. It's full of useful information. Shameless plug. And
Links below.
Link below. And how comic book live action may not be or is the best format for your comic book information entertainment. But yeah, today we'll be looking at films exactly, and anything, points associated with that, how popular studios are taking the direction they're taking comic book films, how feature films in general compare to the episodic nature of comic book storytelling, and we'll be dialing into exactly what it is to be faithful, quote-unquote faithful, to a source material storyline. So, gentlemen, before we begin, as we begin, first question to ask all of you, and this is important. It's going to define the podcast forever.
Yes.
And I just need you to all answer me. What do you find to be a quintessential factor in what a comic book movie is? Now, before you all answer, because this is kind of a weird question, I want you to reconcile this with yourselves because, films are art, which is inherently subjective, but, everything has nuances, structure and genre, so, horror film is inherently uncomfortable and scary, and comedy is supposed to bring laughter. What is it about comic book films that, just an innate detail about comic book films that defines it as a comic book film? Can you tell me one thing?
Costumes.
Beautiful, Dan.
Absolutely costumes.
Oh my god.
I swear to God, if you nail the costume, you have a comic book movie. That's just what it is.
What about Constantine?
That's a costume.
I mean-
they totally didn't name,
It's a trench coat, man.
Okay, yeah, it is a costume.
and they totally didn't nail it. It wasn't dirty, it wasn't fucked up, it wasn't ratty. It was just his trench coat.
I guess
His
so.
hair
Yeah.
was dark and
It
he
was
was
awful.
Alright. Anyone else? You look.
I'm gonna say it's versatility in that because
Versatility.
comic books have a certain genre versatility where they can really be any genre.
This is
I think
true.
comic book adaptations can do the same.
This is
And I
true.
think we've seen that channeled, especially as they're trying to not just make the same boring superhero movie over and over again. They've taken superhero movies and kind of molded them into other genres, be it political thriller, war movie, fantasy movie, sci-fi, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I definitely see what you're saying. Comic book, by definition, comic book films, quote unquote, it's a fairly new concept as of like the last 15, 20 years, and it has some kind of a formless nature to it. So it's kind of hard to nail down what exactly it is when you say a comic book film, besides the fact that it is source material from a comic book. But yeah, they are kind of they're like water, quoting the late Bruce Lee. Yeah, they just adhere to what they need to be.
He said comic book films are like water?
No, he said be like water, friend.
Oh.
Beautiful philosopher. Anyway.
Going off of what Mark said, the comic book movie has to be, something of its own identity. It can't be too close or too far away from the source material. It should have kind of the heart of the source material. But after that, they should really create it to be its own being, and not try to be a comic book, and not try to be, something extreme to try to be something new.
Okay, so in being somewhat of a blank slate, like Mark was saying, you think it should just strive to be something incredibly unique every time? Okay, well, you can say it. I accept. James.
Tone matters more than anything else, I would say.
Okay.
When you're grabbing something as fluid, as comic books, and you're adapting it to a medium like film, take like the Richard Donner Superman movies, which are totally colorful and out there and outlandish, because that's what the tone that they were going for.
Yeah.
Compare that to Man of Steel. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just going
absolutely.
for the dark and gritty thing.
Okay.
Take that to the Spider-Man movies, which are more similar to the Donner ones and stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
Than the Dark Knight movies, which are again gritty, and made some odd choices in what exactly they wanted to pull from comic bookiness.
Yeah,
Try to make it real. You know what I'm
Absolutely,
saying?
yeah. That's a beautiful note. I definitely see that. Tonal consistency is something I definitely see as a key factor in comic books, especially if I take a quick tangent thinking about like the Marvel films. Like, let's just think about Iron Man.
Yeah.
Iron Man. It starts out, Iron Man 1 I'm suggesting, by the way, the John Favreau Iron Man 1, where it kind of starts out very dark. He's in a cave, he's a terrorist, his friend dies, blah blah blah. But by the end of the film, he's, even though he's battling this huge villain, it's become sort of an adventure film, and they kind of keep that consistency throughout the Iron Man trilogy, because like even though they tried to adapt Extremis for Iron Man 3, Extremis is like an extremely cerebral, traumatic story, but no matter what, the Iron Man tonal consistency up to that point favored adventure and fantasy and sort of a light tonalness. So consistency of that's just basically like the whole Marvel mantra as going forward. Serious but not too serious, but serious enough.
Yeah.
Whereas DC, like you're saying with the Man of Steel comparisons, very, very gritty, very character driven, more singular towards the individuals.
And when you're pulling ideas out of something like comic books, which can be very whimsical and goofy,
Yeah.
you need to be very, very careful about how you adapt the ideas to your film in relation to the tone of your film and the story and stuff.
Brando, I think you've just given me the name for my new ambient electronic music podcast. Total consistency.
Links below. If you want a soundtrack to Paper Cuts Podcast. Oh my god. Jim, get on it.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Let's do it. I got a contact mic and a 303 in my car.
Oh, sweet. Oh my god. Oh, it's beautiful. Alright. I'm glad you all gave me some hints and cues about what you believe comic book films kind of look like. So moving on, what do we all believe is the spirit of comic book movies? How do you guys feel comic book films over the last 5 to 10 years? How do you feel they've emulated the spirits of their source material?
It's all been downhill since Batman and Robin.
I know it's been downhill, but it's
Let's kill the dinosaurs! The Ice Age! Yeah!
that's just something I see a lot that is attributed in like critic reviews of comic book films, where they kind of talk about what the storyline it was based off of and kind of how it was morphed into something else. Kind of like let's go with X3, the Dark Phoenix Saga.
X-Men United.
Yes.
No, X-Men The Last Stand.
The Last Stand, that's right.
Yes.
Tell you're tired today.
Aha! Aha!
X2 is the one people love. X3 is the one everyone loves less.
A lot less.
A lot
A
less.
lot less.
Yeah.
But yeah, the spirit of Dark. Not many people would say that the spirit and the themes of Dark Phoenix Saga kind of moved over into X3. So, how do you feel that overall the entire comic book industry over the last 5 to 10 years has carried that sort of weight of translating the kind of, I guess it is a sort of tonal thing, but I say spirit in a sort of like ethereal way that I don't know how you would translate, but
Well, I think that in terms of conveying the spirit, some things have done better than others. For example, I'd say Watchmen was actually the most loyal in conveying what was actually in the comic to what was actually on the screen, but I'm not sure it kept the same spirit per se.
I agree.
I see.
So there's a difference between direct adaptation to source material
Yeah.
continuity and staying in the same spirit as the comic book.
I got you.
The remake of Psycho comes to mind. Are you guys familiar with that?
The
I've
shot
never
for
seen
shot remake?
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
did hear about that.
They did a shot-for-shot remake of Psycho with Vince Vaughn as the crazy person in the Bates Motel, and it was retarded because it didn't add anything new. They did exactly what was in the original, and they added nothing. So no one fucking gave a shit about it.
It's like not a remembered film at all. I'm surprised if you like. I thought I was the only person that remembered that. Yeah, yeah. Like there you go. I agree with the Watchmen point. The Watchmen the movie was like a diorama of the comic book. Like, it was as faithful. It was like a model, like a ship in a bottle. You know, but what the subtext of the actual story was, they changed it.
Right.
I mean, it was there.
By
but
taking out the human characters, the little characters, it really stripped a lot of the value to the story away.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. As I said, the movies have to be their own identity.
Yeah.
Also,
See,
the
there you
direct representation did not work in their favor for that particular movie. It could work in another one, depending on the storyline and how they adapt it to the film. But I really think that currently the spirit has been its own identity with the movies. They seem, especially with the Marvel kind of mending the movie universe together, it seems to me like they just created their own multiverse for the movies. It sort of happens everywhere. We have the Batman the Animated Series universe that everyone seems to agree on it being, real for that universe and not known comic books. So I feel that both DC and Marvel have just decided to create their own universes for their movies, and I think that's really what's fueling the drive to go see these movies now, because it really is separated from the comics and it has its own identity now, its own soul that we love seeing.
Okay.
And each movie has been, as you said previously with the Marvel ones, they all kind of have that same feeling, and it's because they're in the same universe.
Yeah, because it's intended to have some consistency with each other, so that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
See, as you guys talk about Watchmen, you get me kind of like tizzled about like the other questions, so I'm just going to jump into it. Tizzled, yes. It's a verb, adjective, I think. So, it gets me thinking about the question I have written down here, off my beautiful script. How necessary is it to be faithful to your source material as it is? Now, obviously, Tank has a very strong opinion here about what it is to be faithful, and that you really don't, that you kind of have to maintain your own identity, but how much of the source material do you need to pay homage to when you're making a comic book film? And as you guys, not to jump the gun on this, but I really have to get this out of my system. While you guys are talking about Watchmen, that's a very grisly example of a film going kind of toe to toe exactly in the footsteps of its source material. Like it feels, I don't know if I'm speaking for everybody, but when I watched Watchmen, it felt strange to me.
You're the one that watches
I
the
was
Watchmen.
about to say we've answered your question.
Who watches the Watchmen? It's Brando.
You sons of bitches. But no, really, I don't know if it was just me, but watching the Watchmen felt strange, and not because of the material at hand, because I knew the material at hand was. It felt strange because it was like lines of dialogue that were intended to be read off the page were being spoken to me by an actor. Like the visual transformation of it was very odd, and it made me feel. First time it made me feel tickled pink, but the second or third watch, it made me feel confused, and it got me thinking. Especially now that we're talking about adaptations, it made me wonder about: is this it? Like, is this what I want from a comic book movie? Because like when I see things like Guardians of the Galaxy for a very contemporary example. That film, and I'm pretty sure I'm the one with the most Guardians experience possibly in this group. I could probably list 60 things that movie does not represent classically with Guardians comic, but it's a wonderful movie because it has a very own unique identity as far as Guardians, what they are to the MCU. So.
The thing with The Watchmen is that, in my opinion, what I've always said about The Watchmen is that it's a really great companion to the comic book, which is an awful way to make a movie. Where you're just like, oh yeah, that's really cool. Everyone else who hasn't read the comic book is like, why the hell is there a blue lion? Why did we care about the blue lion? Yeah. The blue lion died, there's just a lot of holes in it, and Watchmen is such a dense comic, since they tried to go and do a note-for-note recreation on screen. They missed out, as Mark was saying earlier, of all the little nuanced things that really brought together,
the Watchmen series.
Which goes back to what Chang was saying, which is movies should be movies and comics should be comics. You can draw inspiration from the comics.
Well, I'd like to say that there does have to be something there where you can't have this. Movies should be movies and comics should be comics, and never the twain shall meet. Because take a look at something like Jonah Hex. How many of you guys saw Jonah Hex?
I ran far away.
Let me tell you.
Or Steel. There have been a lot of movies that just didn't attempt anything to be similar beside the main character's name and look, and without fail, those have almost always been the worst adaptations. Watchmen, for all of its failings, and I'll be the first one to point out its failings, wasn't necessarily a bad movie. It was just a letdown, but it wasn't a bad movie. I know plenty of people that weren't fans of the comics that thought it was a good movie. If you're into Zack Snyder fare, it's pretty standard.
I think it was the best job that anybody could have possibly done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's an insurmountable task to try to take that one on and turn it into a movie.
I don't know. I always wanted to see the Terry Gilliam version.
Okay. that would not have been faithful. He would have done his own.
Oh yeah, no, they were doing some crazy stuff. I've read the script. I used to have it downloaded on my old computer, but all I'm saying is, if a film is striving too hard to maintain its own identity without paying any homage to the source material, you
lose sight of what it's trying to do.
Right. I have a feeling that's what the new Fantastic Four will do, but I'm still holding out hope.
Okay, before you talk, Jake, I'm sorry, but he had to say that, and now he said it. Which is,
No, go ahead.
I can't take it back?
No, you can't take it back. It's dead. It's on the internet. But I don't think that there will ever be a good live-action adaptation of traditional Fantastic Four. I think it's just impossible, just the way they are designed. I don't think there'll ever be a traditional Doom ever. Just because it's the costume. You're putting him, especially with. Oh my god. Sorry.
I've got thoughts on this, Brando, but I think maybe we're getting a little off topic now. But
I'll keep it really short. But Victor Dormishev, just for a quick example, because a lot of people have been noting that online right now, because Doom is becoming not a surname but a username because he'll be a hacker. You heard this,
yes.
Right? I mean, if anyone's been keeping note tabs or the developments of the plot, little details of the new Fantastic Four, Doom is not going to be a thing of a surname, but it's going to be a username because he's going to be somewhat of a hacker, and this caused a lot of controversy, blah, 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 blah. And this is another issue we can tackle as, adaptation. How necessary is this really? Because this isn't the comic book version of Fantastic Four. This is the the new Fox iteration of comic books. Blah, we'll get back to it later. Chang, sorry, do you remember your thoughts?
Mark, just going off of what you said.
I feel like I'm under a lot of fire here.
Well, just particularly now, because there was a movie which recently came out. It's not a live-action movie, but has gotten a lot of great reviews. Big Hero 6 from Pixar. It is based off a comic book.
It's not Pixar. Sorry, continue.
Who did it?
Just Disney Animation.
Just Disney Animation? Alright, sorry about that.
No, you're fine. Just thought after that.
No, we must mount your head on a pike.
Oh god,
You
it was
have
that
failed
pike
us
again.
all. Chang, you have failed
Wasn't
the
it the
city.
Harley Quinn pike?
You have failed this podcast. Go die now.
But, anyways, the Big Hero 6 movie only took the names. from the characters of the comic books, that's the only thing they took that's similar to the original source comic book. And let me tell you, I went and did some research. I went and read some of the old comic books. I had trouble finishing them.
You didn't
But
like
the
Silver
movie
Samurai,
is
or-
something I've seen twice now, and I'll definitely go see again. The movie adaptation, definitely, I think, is just what just has so much more soul to it than the comic book. And I think that's probably because like they really like kind of sold out with the comic book to begin with. It was originally called Sunfire and Big Hero 6 because they didn't think the heroes themselves of the Big Hero 6 were like star material, so they had Sunfire in there and Silver Samurai leading like the team, and it just wasn't its own identity really even in the comics. And so I really think this movie adaptation actually did it better.
Okay.
So
Well, seems like the consensus here is that faithfulness is not favored here.
I would say it's completely unnecessary.
it's completely
I think your first service should be to whatever it is that you're working on. That's my take. You know, I mean, if you're drawing inspiration from something else, you're making an adaptation. That's cool, but you got to make sure that you're making the best movie that you possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever that takes, you know, go for it.
Personally, I give like movies the same creative control that I give a comic anyways. As soon as a new writer jumps on a comic, I have to go and accept that they're going to go and write that version of Batman or Daredevil, whatever comic, their way, the way that they want to go and write it. Because X company, Marvel or DC, decides, hey, you're the guy that we trust to go and have creative control on this particular comic. And then they do what they want, and it's canon until the next writer comes up, and then they go and they dismantle whatever happened, or they build upon it. One or the other. So just like when they go and they hire Tim Burton to go and make like the Batman movies, I don't think of it as him doing sacrilege to Batman, as some people might think. I think of him, this is Tim Burton's Batman.
Yeah.
Just like there's Frank Miller's Batman and Scott Snyder's Batman, you know? Like, that's mainly what I think.
Yeah, I mean, every iteration of film versions is just, creative freedom to the ex-filmmaker,
It also
Yeah.
makes me a lot less angry when I go to see these things.
But yeah, because it's their version. It's the James Gunn version of the Guardians. It's the Sam Raimi Spider-Man. It's the Mark Webb.
Superheroes are probably the most reinvented, malleable thing in pop culture. You know,
absolutely.
like
Film or otherwise,
Yeah.
especially in their comics.
Yeah.
You hear something more?
I was just gonna say that I don't think that it's completely in the direction of films can be independent from comics. I think there's something to be said for that. You talk about how like when new writers come on books, it's the same type of deal. But honestly, I think that a lot of people out there, probably a lot of people that would listen to this, do feel alienated when their source material is dishonored. Like, I remember you being a little weirded out by the whole Gwen Stacy, Norman Osborn plot line in Spider-Man.
Yeah, naturally.
Yeah. Well, that's because it went back and kind of messed with the classic source material. That's one of the really good things about, like, say, creator-owned material, is that they can kind of maintain a consistency of quality and tone that isn't necessarily what you're going to get from the big franchises.
Gotcha, yeah. That's
Which
just-
goes for the movie adaptations as well.
Yeah, movie adaptations kind of have. Clearly we're drawing a very thin line as to the connection it has to make with the comic book source material, but there still should be somewhat of a connection at all. Otherwise it kind of loses a very integral part of what its identity is. So, moving on, we have a huge slate going forward in the next 6 years or so. Now, 2018, 2020, etc., etc. We have probably 2 to 3 comic book films coming out each year. From Marvel, Sony, Fox.
Warner Brothers.
Yes, thank you. I know I was forgetting something. But yeah, from all these studios, and I'd like to ask you guys, do you feel like the market is being oversaturated? Do you feel like there is too many? This is a very easy, not easy, but common question that a lot of people get posed with. Do you feel the market is becoming over encumbered by comic book movies? Do you feel like it's it's just too much. It's going to water down the overall products that are being pushed out. What do you guys think about how it's going to? Well, are there any ramifications, negative-wise, towards the industry at large, and to the medium of comic book films?
I think, and I might draw some fire for this one too, but I think we might be reaching a saturation point. Now, again, everyone says, the new cowboy films and that, a million of them can come out a year and people won't get sick of them. But at the same time, when was the last time you saw a Western?
Cowboys were sailing.
Okay.
Which was based on a comic book.
Yeah, it's based on a comic book. So I do think there is a saturation point. I don't think we'll probably reach it until 2017 or 2018, but I do think we'll hit it. I mean, we're now getting to the point where we're going to have more comic book movies being adapted every year than manned space launches.
Easy. No problem.
It's I think that's definitely going to be a problem in the next couple of years because I do think there's a limit to the market, and I do think there's a limit to what people will go and see. We might even see that next year because while I'm sure the Avengers is going to be a big hit, I really doubt Ant-Man or Fantastic Four are going anywhere.
I have some faith in Fantastic Four. I just wanted to say that, but tell me, Jim.
We're definitely hitting saturation. I honestly thought the whole bubble was going to burst with Green Lantern. I thought that was going to kill everything, and it didn't. It didn't. Okay, so I was prophet of doom, and I was proven wrong. Okay, but I'm never going to get sick of it. We are at a saturation. I'm never going to get sick of it because there's something wrong with me, and I can absorb this stuff over and over and over again forever. Yeah. Okay, the general market, I think, will get sick of it eventually.
Yeah.
And those are the people who are buying the tickets. It's not us. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like they sold Avengers to the entire planet, and we make up a tiny fraction of the movie-going audience.
Yeah.
I mean, if they announce Crypto the Superdog as a movie tomorrow, I'm going to be there. Everybody else is going to be alienated by that. I don't know. We'll see what happens when DC gets crazy. When they make a Shazam movie and people go, "Who is Shazam?" If they go to see the movie anyway, then we'll see what happens. But
okay, now I'm in your boat too, Jim. Just to really quickly say that, no matter what happens to the market, this is not really pertaining to the issue at large we're talking about, but no matter what happens to the market at large, I'm pretty sure everyone in this room will go watch comic book movies regardless.
Yeah.
Just because we live in that sweet Renaissance age of like all this comic book entertainment fucking everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But and we
Sony's putting out an Ant-Man movie. I'll see it.
Yeah,
I'll watch that shit. I don't even care.
Let's go. But yeah, Chang, what's up?
Yeah, like how everyone's saying, us being comic book fans, we kind of just see this whole, I guess, through rose-colored glasses. We're seeing, we're waiting for our favorite heroes to be put onto the big screen, whether it's Captain Marvel or Guardians of the Galaxy 2, or hopefully Green Lantern's being good, please God. But that being said, we are a small portion of the movie-going audience, and there's definitely a point where the common person will, be like, okay, Guardians of the Galaxy number 22 is out. I think I'm not gonna go see this one anymore because I kind of saw too many of them already. Despite the fact that comic books are always adapting, I feel like there's far more trends. Things are far more trendy inside movies. So, we had Superman 1, 2, and 3 come out. We had the Batman movies with Tim Burton. Comic book movies I think will eventually die out, and I think, of course, like every trend, it'll come back. So right now we're just kind of in
riding the wave,
golden age of comic book movies.
Okay, I see the wave. Dan, you get that curious look in your eye. What is it?
I don't think comic book movies are going anywhere personally. I used to go and think that every release of every comic book movie would be the last movie to go and come out, and then everything would go and die. I thought we hit that with X-Men 3, actually. Similar to how Jim thought about Green Lanterns. X-Men 3 just totally bummed me out, along with Spider-Man 3. Hell with that movie. But
but what about that great 2007 release, Ghost Rider?
oh my God,
Fantastic
no!
Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Look, gentlemen,
That was better than the first one.
I'm
It
hosting.
was better than the first one, and that's the only thing anyone can say that's any good about it.
Someone has to join me on my Nick Cage marathon. All right.
I do not feel like people will get sick of comic book movies. I feel like people will get sick of superhero movies, and then we'll go on to our Image Comics run of like movies.
That's
That's what I ultimately feel.
They'll feel more like just typical films.
Alright.
Yeah, they can keep making Road to Perdition and stuff indefinitely. But I think we were addressing the more mainstream superheroes there. But I initially was coming on with the point that these things will come to an end. I do think there's one path they can take to prolong that end, though. Maybe even indefinitely. You mentioned Green Lantern, Jim, in 2011 as being the point at which you thought they were going to jump the shark, so to speak. And I remember thinking in 2011 that was the year they kind of branched out from the traditional superhero movie, because what you had Thor, which was a superhero movie, but it was also kind of a fantasy movie.
Yeah.
And you had Green Lantern, which was a superhero movie, but was also kind of a sci-fi movie, or at least it was supposed to be, and then wasn't really. You had X-Men First Class, which was supposed to be a superhero movie that was also kind of a period piece. You had Captain America the First Avenger, which was a superhero movie that was a war movie. And I think since then, with stuff like Captain America the Winter Soldier and Guardians of the Galaxy, you've seen this general genre diversification while they still manage to
Keep
maintain
fantastic.
kind of the core superhero.
Yeah, the adventurous, wonderful parts of it.
Right, and then they'll mix other genres into it for a kind of combo.
So keep it adaptive. You know what I
Keep it
mean? Like
adaptive.
things are like switching and evolving and changing to their environment and stuff like that.
As long as things aren't monotonous, I think the market will not cease their need for these films.
Like they just have to stop with the origin story movies.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm
the same
sick
of
thing,
it.
like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Oh,
I love
most
that
definitely.
movie, but it's done. We're done with it. You know, like yeah.
When I heard
I-
Doctor Strange wasn't going to be an origin movie, I was like, thank you!
That is
Yeah.
going to confuse the hell out of people, though. He's the character that people need the origin story.
Oh, come on.
You know?
You just need a little bit of a background
Yeah,
for him,
yeah.
honestly.
They do it like the Incredible Hulk, where they have in the credits scene,
Yeah.
they just have it go over. I mean, think about the A-Team movie. This isn't a comic book movie,
That
but
movie's awesome, by the way.
yeah. But really, they took the entire movie, 2 hours or whatever, to do the same thing that the original television show did in 30 seconds over the credits. In 1972, a crack commando team was... and it really was, like, we don't necessarily need an origin story. Just give us the blow-by-blow of what happened to him in the opening credits like they used to do for the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, and then go. You know, hit me with some crazy Dark Dimension magic shit. I love that.
And I think that's another thing that they will probably do with the Green Lantern movie coming after even
I'm pretty sure he'll
Justice League 2.
Yeah.
It's not going to be an origin story. There's no way I can see it being that, and that
he'll just be in.
it'll just be like a
If
off the wall space action flick with Green Lantern.
He'll
If
have
that
as
gets
much.
made, I really hope they pick an interesting Green Lantern.
That is being made. Green Lantern.
Yeah, well, you know,
Yeah,
if
20
their other
that
movies are
happens,
successful.
Oh well, yeah.
I mean, that's 2020 or something.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I don't know.
That's way
Anything
down
can
the road.
happen between now and then. Like,
Like,
I just...
DC, like, WB announced like 80 movies going into the year like 2050, and I'm sitting there just skeptically being like, none of these are ever going to be made. I seriously, I know this sounds negative, but I'm thinking
No,
they're
you're
going
fine.
to get the Justice League, and it's just going to be like, fuck it.
Yeah,
Like,
that's...
I just don't believe it. I want it
I
to
don't
happen.
believe it
but
We're
I'm
gonna
not
get to the third movie in, they're gonna be like, we're done,
Yeah,
guys.
no, yeah.
the chip.
they're going to throw in more Superman and Batman and be like, oh, wait, did we say we were making a cyborg movie? Never mind.
That's never gonna happen. No. They'll do something weird. They'll do two weird ones. They'll do maybe Aquaman and definitely Wonder Woman, and then nobody will watch them. And I'll just be there, and I'll be angry and cry.
Come on, you gotta,
Wait,
you
no
gotta
one
go
wants
see
to
the
make-
Aquaman movie.
Like Clarion the Witch Boy movie. No one.
Because they're leaving out the Martian Manhunter. It's because of that, and that's cursing them.
Oh my god.
Cursing them.
Oh, because of the
getting what they deserve.
Martian Manhunter.
John Jones is like haunting the executive's
No, I'm
office.
saying if they put him in
Like
there, all these
Harambe.
movies would be blockbusters. If they put him in there, they showed
That
him
makes the difference.
some, yeah, if they showed him some love and respect, then, you know.
God,
it'd
it's
be
the
like-
Manhunter factor. God
Yeah.
damn it. Like, they
That's
don't
my theory. And you can edit all of that out.
No, absolutely
Yeah.
not. That is completely 100% fact. Like, the Manhunter juju is a real like element.
Injustice
in the
wasn't a
periodic table.
complete game until the Manhunter came
That's
into
what I'm
it.
saying, yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. You know, there's no way I'm editing that. No. God, I had a fucking my thought train is completely disintegrated into like dust. I can't. Oh Jesus Christ. Okay. We had. What were you saying?
Diversification of the genre.
Yeah.
I think we might want to edit this.
Oh yeah.
He said comic books diverging into other comics,
Image Comics.
other comics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Third-party comics.
Okay.
I'm still waiting for my Authority movie, guys.
Okay. But to be honest, I think we've kind of hit our stride, and I think we've completed necessary conversation. So I'm just gonna wrap it up with the typical roundabout. So I think we hit all the notes that we wanted to hit this week. Thanks for joining us. But as usual, before we take the warp pipe out of here, we're gonna give you our 5 comic book recommendations for this week.
What's a warp pipe? Is that like the opposite of a peace pipe?
No, it's like
No, it's kind of like
Mario.
the warp gate, except we kind of fucked up the original design, and now it's a pipe instead of a gate. Sorry.
Alright.
Yeah.
All right. It's,
Continue, sorry.
Brando kind of had
I didn't mean to ask.
movement upside
Continue.
down, and I kind of.
So comic recommendation.
yeah, Chang. Since you decided to talk over everybody, what's your comic recommendation? I see it's in your hand.
My comic book recommendation is Nightcrawler number 8. The team of Claymont and Nanook. I have no idea.
Todd Knock.
Todd Knock. Thank you. Have
How
been.
do you get Nanook from Nog?
And I kind of just read it exactly how it was spelled. There was an AU, so. Anyways.
Chen confirmed for not reading.
Yes. Anyways, as I was saying, I feel like this is really where Nightcrawler's starting to hit a stride, and the creative team kind of started off a little bit weird. There's some kind of a weird storyline going on with him just being back from the dead. And of course, they even had, the homage to the death of Wolverine in the previous issue. But this one just totally takes Nightcrawler and shows exactly what he can do, having him start off with a bit of a training session with the students and then throwing them into the thick of battle and just letting all hell break loose with the X-Men and another mysterious entity that I won't reveal. So this comic book has really just made me love Nightcrawler again, and exactly for all the right reasons. So
Nice.
check it out.
Good stuff, Jay. Jim, give us your 2 cents. What do you got for us for the comic book recommendations?
Everybody should go, if they can, try to find something called Martian Manhunter American Secrets. It's not very well known as far as I'm aware. It's pretty awesome. It's 3 issues, miniseries. Totally bizarre. I've never read anything like it, especially not related to any of the Justice League characters. I forget who wrote it, and I don't remember who drew it either. So, kudos to whoever they are. But he is.
Good job, guys.
Yeah, you did awesome.
Pat on the back.
Yeah. It's like a detective story. He finds out that these magazines are being published by evil lizard people.
Oh wow.
In the 50s. It's awesome and funny and weird and cool. Check it out.
Nice. Dan Jackman, tell me, what should I read?
This week, you guys, you should read Thor. Just Thor. The infamous female Thor, written by Jason Aaron and drawn by Russell Dauterman. It is so very excellent. Right now, they're kind of hyping it up as a bit of a mystery story, as no one knows who the new female Thor is. If you like the previous run of Thor God of Thunder with Jason Aaron, then I think you're probably going to enjoy this as well, as it has a loose continuity, or will eventually tie in, I'm sure, with it. But, as a person that likes to see ice beasts being torn asunder and arguments in one's head, I really like this book a lot. She kind of talks to herself in a normal voice, and then when she speaks aloud, she speaks exactly like Thor. It's pretty hilarious. Read Thor. It's only on, like, issue 3 right now. You should definitely read it.
Okay. Beautiful.
I'm going to recommend Uber by Kieran Gillen and Kanan White. It's occasionally someone else beside White is on art, but he's the main artist. It's about 22 issues in, I think. So I know that's a rough jumping on point, but it's worth checking out the early trade paperbacks. It basically is it's a superhero comic, or a superhuman comic, done as a war comic in the most loyal way possible. It's really meticulously researched. It's probably the best non-Garth Ennis war comic in like 5 years. So I would, and yet it has superhumans. But Kieran Gillen does an awesome job researching it. Just every aspect of the last days of World War II is touched on in some way. It's a really well-written, well-documented comic, and Gillen's notes in the back matter make it all worth it. It's a really great comic. I can't recommend it highly enough. It comes out from Avatar Press, so check that one out, guys.
Brando!
Yes, Dad.
What do you recommend for this week? If you say Batgirl again, I will break your legs.
I was thinking about saying Batgirl just so that you couldn't say Batgirl.
Oh, fuck. Well, unfortunately, I can't recommend Batgirl 37 because it hasn't been released yet, which is just a darn bummer, so I'll have to wait till next week so I can do that. But what I have for you guys is Amazing Spider-Man 65, or 655 and 656, which is the storyline of No One Dies, which is in which JJ's wife dies. And she's just close enough within the proximity of Peter Parker for him to be kind of more or less upset about it, and when he takes his vow, in which he's already suffered a lot of angst and loss at this point in his storyline. And this is one of the storylines I read when I just began my tenure reading Amazing Spider-Man, and the reason I went back to it recently was because I wanted to see what that period of Spider-Man was like. I was just exploring, but then I read this and I came across it again, and I was like, oh my god, I loved No One Dies as a storyline because of the way that the artist, and I'm so sorry I don't remember the writer or the goddamn artist, but the way the formatted of the panels, like where it's all kind of structured normally, and then as he kind of slowly slips into not his madness but his kind of like anguish, the colors and the structuring of the panels starts to just like melt and circulate, and it's just a really crazy like ethereal reading experience. And for a Spider-Man comic, it was just something really off the books and off the rails, and I just highly recommend anyone who enjoys Spider-Man just to take the time and explore that period of amazing Ultimate Spider-Man. So, Amazing 655, 656, No One Dies. Check it out. But yep, I think that wraps it up. So, without further ado, we'll see you guys next week.
Good night, folks.
Good night.
As always, if you have any recommendations for us,
Absolutely.
and like and comment below.
Yes, we are so hungry and lonely. Yes.
Just
Like
talk
us.
to us.
Just
please.
hungry.
Comment. Let us know what you guys think about the content we produce. We always love critical. We very well take, and that's so grammatically correct, criticism. And we always love to hear what you guys are thinking. So, please, let us know what you got below. And as always, beautiful day, beautiful life. Peace.